pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's get right into it. Let's start with our guest speakers today. Kathy Zook, who runs the Appalachian Regional Program for Eastgate.
I appreciate that. PowerPoint for you today. Here we go. Okay. Well, I know it's been a little while since I've been able to visit you in person today, but there is a lot of activity going on in our Appalachian program at Eastgate, and thank you for allowing me to share some of the things that we are working on. You've probably heard a lot of discussion about the Appalachian Community Grant Program. That is the $500 million that was allocated by the DeWine administration and our Ohio legislature. And I'm happy to say the first award has been announced, and Governor DeWine and Director of the Governor's Office of Appalachia actually came to our district to announce the first award. That was March 22nd of last month, and $64.1 million was awarded to the Appalachian Children's Coalition for their project, which is known as the Appalachian Children's Health Initiative. So you can see in the diagram there, we've got Ohio. And the area here, this is our 32 counties of Appalachia. Those little green dots represent the project locations that are within this award. In total, there are 28 projects in 20 counties, and that is in partnership with 16 healthcare providers. It is in 34 of our school districts, and that's impacting 36 communities. So the purpose of this project is to assist our communities have greater access to healthcare. So in these school-based health clinics, you'll see opportunity for folks to have access to primary care, dental, vision, and mental health services for children as well as adults and families. So this project will impact the entire 32 county area and all 4 of Ohio's local development districts, which of course Eastgate is one of. And our region did really well. That $64 million, 28 projects, 4 of them are located within our 3-county district. And in Mahoning County, the Campbell City School District actually received the largest chunk of that $64 million. They were awarded $10.5 million for their Health and Community Development Center. And then we have Ashtabula and Trumbull County. They were awarded a little over $300,000 in their school districts for those school-based health clinic centers. And then also there is one other project which involves telehealth, and that was for about $238,000. And one of the things that we are looking forward to as this was our first round of announcements. We are expecting another round of announcements probably around April 15th. Governor DeWine has indicated when he was here that is the next time the Ohio Controlling Board is meeting. And of course, they have to approve all our projects. I'm sure you're well aware, Justin has reported that Eastgate submitted a very large development application encompassing 41 projects in a 4-county footprint. And that was an ask of about $156 million. So we are very much looking forward to the next round of announcements. We're hopeful that our project will be successful. We have not gotten any indication at this time what projects will be awarded in round 2, but we're hopeful that we'll be receiving the good news on that. But if you are interested in learning more information about these 28 projects that were awarded, that is on the Eastgate website. I know some of you may get our emails through Constant Contact. Eric in our office does a really good job of getting that information out. But if you want to go to the top news section on our homepage, you could click on the article and all the projects are listed there for you. You can see where those communities are and how much they will. Then the other item I wanted to bring up today is our pre-applications are now available for fiscal year 25. Just saying to Kevin, we were added to the Appalachian region in 2009, so it's about 15 years, and we are in 2025. So that announcement went out last week, and it also was also on our website. But the pre-application period is open from March 28th till May 20th, and this is our competitive process. We get about $1.2 million a year in the Eastgate region for projects within our communities. So every point does count. Eastgate staff, we make ourselves available if there's an interested applicant, they want us to review their application or the proposal, give them some feedback. We're more than willing to sit down and do that because we want very strong applications. And then they can ask that assistance anytime from now up until the day it's actually due. So we hold a workshop for all applicants. We ask them to attend whether they've had applications to us in the past or brand new to the program, because there's always lots of new things going on in the ARC program. And we ask, well, and it is a required workshop, the participation in that for old and new. And then for applicants who are applying, if they could just send me an email or give me a call, we would reserve a space for them because we want to make sure we're in the appropriate room so everybody can fit in the room. We know who's coming and have appropriate materials for them. We record the workshop because we know, April 22nd might not be available for everyone. So this way they get the information and they can still meet that participation requirement. Applications are due this year on May 20th. It's an electronic submission again. So as applicants send that information, it's directed typically to my attention. We'll send a confirmation email so they know, yes, your application has been received and has been received on time. And from that point, after the 20th, we'll take all those applications. It goes before our review committee, and then it'll come before the TAC, also before you as Citizens Advisory Board, and then ultimately the General Policy Board makes the final approval on that for us. Okay, so how do we get a project funded through the Appalachian program? Well, you got to meet one of our 5 goals. The goals are pretty broad, but we focus on projects that assist our businesses and entrepreneurs so they can create and retain jobs. We also want projects that strengthen our workforce. So that could be workforce training, maybe some equipment in your healthcare facility, or improving access to cancer treatments, things of that nature. So we want a strong, healthy workforce, and that's where that component would fall in. And then we also have funding for infrastructure, whether that's, your sewer, your water lines, your access road, and broadband. And then we also fund projects that focus on bringing in economic and community development for tourism and focusing on our unique Appalachian culture. Then the last component is building community capacity and community leaders. So that's pretty broad as far as goals that we have. But eligible applicants, that is really the only one who can't be a direct applicant is a for-profit entity. We definitely encourage partnerships in the public sector, especially in the for-profits, because that's who's creating and retaining jobs for us. But they can't be the direct applicant, however, they can be a partner. So think entities who are able to apply would be political subdivisions, our counties, our cities, our villages and townships, and also educational institutions. Could be a vocational school, a school district, a community college, or university. Public institutions are our port authorities, and maybe public libraries would fall into that core category. And then our nonprofits as 501c3 organizations. Each year, as I mentioned, we get about $1.2 million. And that's for qualifying projects in our 3 counties, Trumbull, Mahoney, and Ashtabula. That exact figure, we are expecting about the first quarter of 2024. And it's determined through Congress and then through the Governor's Office of Appalachia. And of course, there's a match requirement that is dependent on the county you're at. Mahoning County, their designation just changed. They're considered what we call an at-risk, a transitional county, which means their match is 50-50. And with Trumbull and Mahoning County, Trumbull and Ashtabula, that is still what we call at-risk, which is a 70-30 match. And maximum you can apply for, it depends on your project, what is infrastructure or so forth, that you can, maximum you can get is 250 or up to 500,000. So really with the ARC program, we just come in at the tail end to fill a gap of an unmet need. This is not for planning or engineering. This is, I know what my project is. I know what I want to construct or what equipment I want to buy. And we know what the cost is because we have our documentation to support that. That's when you come to ARC. That would be the time that you apply. So that's kind of the preview of our pre-application period. And then the final thing I wanted to share with you is every year we have what we call the State of Ohio State of the Region Conference for Appalachia. And this is in partnership with my sister agencies, our local development districts, and Ohio University. We hold it to bring together economic development professionals, elected officials, and folks from the private sector to come together to talk about what are the needs of Appalachia? What are some examples of things we're doing really good, things that are working in our area, and maybe some problems we need to tackle. So this year it is May 14th. It's at Ohio University on campus grounds. There's a virtual option, so you can connect with us online, or we'd certainly love to have you in person as well. And we're focusing on rural solutions this year. So 4 panels will be open for discussion, and we're going to focus on downtown revitalization, housing availability, workforce options, and funding. So our district has 2 representatives that are going to be serving on those panels. And the first one is Mayor Franklin from the city of Warren. He's going to be talking about the successes that have been accomplished in the city. He will serve on that panel. And then I'm going to be talking about how to get these projects funded. As a local development districts, we are your resource to help you connect with funding to get those projects completed and constructed. So hopefully you may be able to take some time to join us on that conference as well. So those are the items that I had to bring to your attention today and to share. There's certainly a lot more going on, but that's our primary area of focus right now. I'd be happy to take any questions if you have them.
It's all that information on the website.
You mean my presentation? I can share it with you if you want electronically. I'd be glad to do that. So I'll send you the link to Justin. You can share it with you. And certainly if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me.
I'm curious, Kathy, the match requirement and the designation changed from Mahoning County, changing from at-risk to transitional. What occurred there to kind of create that change?
Well, I gave a little pushback on that to be, we're not the silent partner here because, this is not an affluent area. But anyway, to answer your question, it is through Congress in partnership with the ARC office. They look at unemployment, poverty, and a whole host of factors. I really disagree with the change of the designation, but my voice didn't count on that one. Congress kind of does their own thing. I just really found it shocking because I don't think there's anything that so significantly was different about Mahoning County compared to Trumbull and Ashtabula, but they felt differently. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when you put up that map beginning of the presentation, those were the maps of the that was the map with the health clinics, children's health clinics.
Yes.
The Appalachian program funded. That one in northern Columbiana by the state line, is that East Palestine?
You are correct. There was a project
Well,
there.
obviously, they need all the help they can get in East Palestine, train wreck there. And
Yes.
so that's an important project, and I think there may be a lot more that could be done down there. I know it's slightly out of our area, but you know, I'm wondering about that. The other thing is I see some potential in Columbiana County and some other areas. Maybe if there's any improvements needed at that by way of infrastructure, and that intermodal facility in Wellsville, that would be a good target for Appalachian funds. And then also I'm thinking about tourism. And
yes.
sometimes people forget what's right under their noses. Take a look at Beaver Creek State Park. You've got equestrian trails there. And you also have obviously Beaver Creek that is paddleable, especially in the springtime and going into June, you know, but the water gets low later on in most years. But I think you have a great potential to draw tourists, to promote tourism, rural tourism. In Columbiana County, you can promote it to a multi-county area around here that people can come to Beaver Creek State Park and enjoy horseback riding on a trail system that goes for many miles and has fords across the creek. There's a stable down there that is private enterprise, but still it's county tourism.
Absolutely.
And then of course there are canoe liveries that I think will rent some canoes and kayaks for trips on Beaver Creek, especially the trip from Gaston's Mill down to Spruceville. That's the easy part. Spruceville, the Ohio River is more advanced, but I'm saying you have a lot of tourism ocean potential down there that maybe some people are overlooking.
Well, I think you've got your finger on the pulse. I'm sure you saw one of the goals for Appalachia is culture and tourism of Appalachia. That is a very strong element that we are looking at not only in Ohio as for local development districts, especially through the Appalachian Community Grant Program, but also the 13 states that it is. I just got an email today about making improvements in Appalachia so that we are a tourist destination. You know, just with the eclipse that's coming on Monday, so many folks are coming to our region. The dollars that are spent, I think I said, if you visit an area, you spend about $150 a day on average. But if you stay overnight, that definitely increases. So yeah, I mean, we have a lot of unique culture and flavor within the Appalachian region, from, you know, restaurants and boutiques and downtowns. I mean, just going to Ashtabula with the wine culture and so forth. So yes, we are definitely looking at improving investments in the tourism industry.
And a couple more points for relative to Columbiana County before I forget them. That is, you have the North Country National Scenic Trail, the trail that goes all the way from North Dakota to New York State, 600 miles. It goes right through Columbiana County, through Beaver Creek State Park, Sheepskin Hollow State Nature Preserve. That's another thing. So you do a tourism grant focused on outdoor recreation on the North Country National Scenic Trail for hikers, the equestrian opportunities on the equestrian trails in Beaver Creek State Park, and the kayaking on Beaver Creek. Okay, and you've got other parks there. You got that, let's see, Hellbender Bluff down there. Okay, there's a Hellbender salamander, very rare salamander that grows 2 feet long. That's in the west branch of Beaver Creek.
I'm not looking for that.
Huh?
I said, I don't think.
Well, I'm saying,
I'm looking for that.
but we pointed, I know, we got a lot of parks down there.
If I find that, I don't know.
Yeah, all right. We got a lot of parks down there, you know, that are scenic, and so those are just some ideas about tourism promotion. Also, I'm thinking about a possible Amtrak stop in Columbiana there. If Amtrak is willing to do that, that's another infrastructure item.
Now, our sister agency, Omega, is in the Columbia has the Columbiana County District.
What's that?
Omega?
Yes, an acronym
Like-
or something, isn't it?
Eastgate is the local development district for Trumbull, Mahoney, and Ashtabula.
Yeah.
There are 4 districts in, here, just see if I can pull up our,
Yeah, fine.
They must be based in New Philadelphia or someplace like
oh,
that.
you know what? If you go on our website and you go to regional Appalachia, here we go. This is where the bulk of our program is. This is what I call the report card. This is our return on investment report. And I'm going to just scroll down here. Okay. The Appalachian region, of course, here we are, 13 states from New York to Mississippi. And then this is Ohio. So when I talk about our sister agencies, I'm talking about these 4 districts. These are the 32 counties of Appalachia, our 4 local development districts, which we work in partnership with the ARC office in Washington, D.C. and the state of Ohio through the governor's office of Appalachia to administer the program. This region here is Omega's district. They have Columbiana County. And I think, I'd be more than happy to share contact information with you there. Alan Knapp takes care of the Appalachian program. They have a new executive director, Dr. Vicki Maple. And I know regional tourism is something that they're very much interested in. Unfortunately, Eastgate, we got to stop there at that county line. I can't cross over and do any planning for my sister agency. But I also know during this 1-year period with the Appalachian Community Grant Program, tourism, their parks and recreation were very much discussed. And I think if you would like to reach out to them, that would be beneficial.
Maybe. I don't live in Columbiana County, but these are just some of the ideas spinning through my head. And I even think of the bike trail from Washingtonville to Lisbon as another outdoor recreation opportunity. This Knapp guy, it sounds familiar. Was he in Trumbull County at one point?
He was, yeah. That was, yeah.
Things are-
Not that we're dating ourselves, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your attention on that.
Is Wayne County in the Appalachian?
Wayne County does not, no, I don't believe, that's not familiar to me, that.
That's Worcester.
Oh, okay, no. That's outside. Let me see if I can pull that back up again. I got a little. Oh, you know what's on the other tag? Here we go. Yeah, I believe Wayne County might be over in this area. Am I right, guys? You guys, yes. Yeah, it's not in the Appalachian.
Okay, that was my question. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Jerry.
Would a upcoming nonprofit radio station, would they be able to apply for some money for equipment and?
Well, I'd have to know a little bit more about what they want. From what you just described, I would say no. We'd have to, we have to try it into workforce development or economic development, community development, job creation and retention. What would they be doing with that? Are they having a workforce component where they're having folks coming there, getting training, education, just to get equipment to have a radio station? That sounds more like a safety services element, and that's not something that the ARC can fund.
It's like.
Community radio.
Yes, community, informing the people in the community.
Emergency services or, yeah.
In general, just
Unfortunately, no, it doesn't sound like a good fit in that.
It was a recently awarded low power FM radio station to a group in this area. They only do it very rarely, like maybe once a decade.
Oh, wow, that's quite a significant.
3 years.
Yeah. Often, we can talk a little further unless we can tie it into some of the elements that I just discussed, but it sounds like a bit of a stretch at this point, but we always want to hear ideas. A lot of times folks will contact us, they maybe have an idea. It's like, well, we can't do that. Or we discuss and hear about your project. Say, well, that element we can't work with, but here are some other things that we can do.
Kathy, the community grant program, is the scope of the projects, the eligibility, much broader than the dollars that you allocate every year?
Well, this, the pre-application process that I just talked about, that's a separate pot of money that comes to Eastgate, and that has this whole separate criteria. We're very fortunate in the ARC program. We have lots of different pots of money. We have an Arise program and a Power program and the Appalachian Community Grant Program. Each one of those is a different funding source with a different set of rules. The Appalachian Community Grant Program is they're considered ARPA dollars, or that American Recovery Rescue Act funding. Those are federal dollars that was allocated through the Ohio legislature on House Bill 377 and has very specific criteria that is separate from this. Okay, well, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your questions, and thank you very much. I'll turn it over to our other guest speakers. Thank you.
Steve and Joey.
I'm not as interesting as Kathy. I think just about everybody knows me. I've been here a handful of times before. Steven Zubik, our Director of Transportation here with Eastgate. Been with Eastgate for a little over 10 years now, so.
Gosh, it's been that
It has, yeah. Anyway, we'll jump into some things. Our work program that we do here at Eastgate. Again, a little bit boring, a lot of text up on the screen. That's just kind of up there for what the work program's about, why we have to do it. It kind of goes back to our designation as a metropolitan planning organization for our two counties, just focusing on Mahoning and Trumbull here as the MTO. And works down to, we develop this work program every fiscal year. Currently, we're in our fiscal year 2024 work program. And really what that does is just spells out a lot of the things that we'll do. It spells out what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how much hours and effort we're putting into it. Big thing that changes each year are these emphasis areas. This is directed to us on things we should really focus on within our work program, focus on in our products that we produce. We're still working under bipartisan infrastructure law. So that first one, a lot of regulations, a lot of these emphasis areas come from the language that was put in the bipartisan infrastructure law. The second one there, the capital programs, that's some of the stuff that Joey's going to talk about. That's money that comes into us as an MPO that we then facilitate and distribute amongst our communities equitably across the two counties for projects to occur. That leads right into the development of the 26 to 29 TIP. That's our transportation improvement program. That's something that I've been here every year for the last 8 years in April talking to you guys about. That's our collection of federally funded projects. Those could be ones that are administered through me in the past, through Joey in the future. That's also our federal dollars of ARC that we account for in the TIP. That also accounts for transit projects, other state funded projects. Rolling into those last few, Transport Ohio never goes away. That's kind of an emphasis area has been since the bill was kind of introduced. Title VI environmental justice, everything we're doing, are we doing it the best way possible? Are we affecting communities? Are we affecting individuals? Are we doing it, again, fair and equitable? This could be a positive effect. It could be a negative effect. Let's make sure we document it. Let's make sure, what we're doing is being known by the public, and there's public output and public opinion. Transportation planning, super general, kind of going to be what I cover over the next handful of slides. So these next few slides are all of our work elements. The numbers mean nothing to anybody but me and ODOT. That's how we account it. That's how we account for it. That's how we budget it. It's kind of how we identify the work done in that work program. 601 short range planning is the stuff that we're doing on a year-to-year basis. Simple, basic planning efforts. Congestion management process is one there that, we're looking at ways to reduce congestion. What's in our area? What are we doing that affects it? What kind of scenarios are we looking at, and what strategies are we looking at to kind of reduce that congestion? ties right into number 2 there, time and delay studies. This is something we started doing probably 5 years ago. One of our programs that we provide funding for is the CMAQ program, Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. That program is specifically designed to reduce emissions into the air. This is done by reducing delay when you're traveling or getting cars off the road in the simplest terms. So what we do those studies. You've probably seen a few of them over the last handful of years. We go out, we perform a study before a project comes in. Then we do the project, not we, but communities, contractors, consultants. Then we go back and we do the study afterwards, compare those results. Every one we've done, as it should, if we're doing our job correctly, planning, has shown a reduction in that delay. If going from point A to point B takes me 5 minutes today, we do a project, it takes me 2 minutes in a year. That's a big reduction. That's less pollutants coming out of my car into the atmosphere. Kind of helps justify what we're doing. Jumping over to 602, I mentioned number 2 there, the 2026 to 2029 tip development. That's something we do every other year. It covers a 4-year span, but it's a new document every 2 years. Again, major focus there on identifying federally funded projects related to transportation. What Joey's going to talk about, the project solicitation, recommendations, going through it, supports that document, builds out that document. 605, continued planning, starts to tie into some of our GIS work, but then also the bulk there is our traffic counting program. We certainly take requests for traffic counts on any of our roads. ODOT manages state routes. We do all the local roads. The bulk of what we do is for our Ohio Public Works Committee program, which applications to the OPWC program require a traffic count. That's just counting how many cars are on the road in a day. That's the bulk of what we do. We're simplifying that process just to make things better for us, make things better for our communities. At any point, please do interrupt, jump in if there's question, clarification. If you see something I'm not touching and you want some emphasis on, hey, what's that mean? Please do just jump in, raise your hand, interrupt, whatever. And I guess as I go through this, these are just our kind of products within each element. There's full-blown descriptions, really emphasis on what we're doing with each of those. If anybody wants to see the full work program, 100-page document, ask Justin, we'll share it with you. It'll be up on our website next week. Sorry, I should have said that at the beginning. These 3 truly are our GIS elements. GIS standing for Geographic Information Systems. Nailed it. That's us doing all of our mapping, working with data. This ties into truly everything we do. It could be, putting that traffic count information on a map to get it out to our communities. It could be mapping our projects for developing the tip. It could be manipulating data to look at condition ratings of the roads. 60501 kind of covers the bulk of all of that work. 625 is very similar, but this is a specific subset that's dedicated to service for our communities. This is the stuff that we don't plan on doing. It's not supplementing our work. It's requests from community members, you guys. Hey, I need this for this information. I need this data, this map. Those types of requests go into our service element. 670 tied to the census and our work with the census. Every year we are looking at the data, manipulating data. This year we've been going through a process of taking the data from the 2020 census, looking at our urban boundary. That is, again, what designates us as an MPO. Every 10 years throughout the state, working with ODOT, we look at that boundary and see, is there changes? Are there census tracts that population has increased, decreased? Does that boundary change, make little adjustments? We've been going through that. I think recently Jeff gave a presentation on it. If not, Justin would have shared the information as far as kind of our assistance to putting together that updated urban boundary. Next step beyond that, and what we'll be focusing on in fiscal year 2025, is how that affects our roadway system. You've probably heard the word functional class before. Every road has a classification. From local road all the way up to interstates, there's a certain designation that once you're above there, you're now considered functional class. You're an important road. It's the ones that are highly traveled, really the important ones, the major ones that are connecting roadway system all across the United States. Once you're in that designation, you then become eligible for some additional funding. Joey will talk about our surface transportation block grant program, projects that we're recommending for funding there. Any project to be eligible for that pot of money has to be on the functional class system. So after this urban boundary is adjusted and finalized, we then open up the door to our communities to say, hey, looking at the maps, this doesn't make sense. This road is heavily traveled. This one makes more sense to the system, more important, whatever it may be. There's some tricky parts there that there's not an unlimited amount of miles that you can add to each kind of category of road. So if you're adding something, you're usually taking something off. We'll get into that more over the summer as we get into the actual designation and adjustments there. 60502, 61001, and 667 kind of grouped together here. They are kind of grouped in the sense of they're subsets of what we do back to that CMAQ program, reducing emissions. The two on the left are funded through that program. This is planning dollars we receive every year to focus on outreach, marketing, advertising, trying to promote ways that the community can reduce emissions into the air, trying to promote rideshare, trying to promote alternate means of travel, getting cars off the road, carpooling, whatever it may be. Trisha runs these programs. She's 2 years here now, and is starting to see how things work here and see, hey, the way that Eastgate's done this in the past, great, but I think we could do things better. So we're in the process right now of reaching out to our partners at Federal Highway, ODOT, USDOT, to see, can we do these other things instead? She has great ideas as far as, idling by schools. This is a big deal. Can we get some signage up to push people away from that? Can we do some work as far as bikes go, bike racks, things that promote signage and advertise that way versus billboards? So I'm sure that's not going to be the last that you guys hear as far as air quality and Go Ohio commute goes. Planning grant is something that Justin started 5-ish years ago, longer. That's just, I'll go back and just talk in general here. A lot of what we do in the work program are requirements of us. A lot is you check these boxes, you stay in MPO, you're able to serve your community. There's other things here. Planning grant is one of them. We have flexibility to say, we think this could benefit our communities. And planning grant's a perfect one to say, hey, we have some dollars we can pull aside from this program. Can we help you guys out and do some planning efforts to do a rate of studies? This one's been incredibly successful. The sad thing there is we've not always been able to fund every applicant because it's such a sought after program. And even though it's smaller dollar amounts than the millions of dollars that Joey's going to reference, it goes a long way and helps out the communities. Next one, 610, I talked about things that we have to do. 610 covers a lot of what we have to do. The biggest one there, the 2050 MTP, that was developed with a completion date of last July, finalized. We do one of those every 5 years. We're required to. We look out 20 plus years. What's our best projection for the area? Project listing, different goals, scenarios. In 5 years, we're going to have another, well, 4 years now, we're going to have another update due. That is a very extensive process. We're already looking forward to see how can we make this update more seamless. What can we do to get better public feedback? I think we had very successful turnouts a year and a half ago from our community members on, hey, here's scenario planning, here's what we see for the area. But we're going to attack that even further. I'll get to a little tie into that on the next slide. 674 and 67401, these are our transit elements. I mentioned before, transit-related projects, stuff that's really funded by FTA, by ODOT, runs through WRTA. We help out with those. We help them acquire funds, we help them match funds, and we account for all of those as well. Transit Development Program, I'm sure Myrta's been in here before talking about the TDP. I believe she's going to be in here next month. Maybe not.
I think a couple.
Okay, either that or again, Justin will give an overview of the 2024 to 2027 TDP. That is just something we have to do every year. Accounts for our transit routes in the area, different designations. Are we attacking? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Last slide, I mentioned a little bit of a tie in there. I'm going to jump to the right, the green one, 69701, the very bottom, that public participation plan review. I say review in 2025 because currently in 2024, we're going through an update of our plan. This basically spells out all of our ways, all of our strategies to reach out to the public, reach out to our communities. Our last update was done in 2019. That's a long time ago. A lot has changed since 2019. So we do a lot more now. We have a communication specialist. Eric's name comes up a lot. He does a lot of extra effort to reach out to our communities on our behalf. We as staff at Eastgate do a lot more to reach out to our communities, and we do it in different ways. So this is another document you guys will see in the coming months. I believe the plan there is to have a draft for May. It's very likely that you guys will see a draft document next month. Please provide comment. If what we're doing to reach out to you guys, to other community members, you think it's not sufficient, you think there's better ways to do it, make a comment. We certainly appreciate that. 697, kind of going back, in general, that actual outreach, that engagement that we do, that time is charged to 697. Kind of what comes from that product forward as the public participation plan. Probably the most boring one on here is 69702. That's just our hours spent to develop this work program that I'm presenting to you guys today. It's developing it. It's then summarizing the past year. It's budgeting for the next year. It's a thing every single year, and this is how we account for it. So again, if anybody would like to see that full work program document, please let me know now, let Justin know. It's a big document, so I don't know about attaching it. May cause an issue. If somebody wants a physical copy, let me know. We'll print out a physical copy. The schedule for that right now, we are still in the draft phase. That first draft was submitted a few weeks back. The next one, final one's not due until May. So if you look at that document, if you just see this brief recap from me and think, hey, I see this emphasis area, what if you guys focus here? Or you're not accounting for this, make that comment now. We don't have an official public engagement period for this, just a simplified document, but now's the time. Now's the time to get comments in there, and now's the time to kind of adjust what our internal focus areas are. So any thoughts, comments, questions on our very exciting fiscal year 2025 work program?
Steve, I'm just going to focus on a very narrow slice of that. You said you were going to try to put signs by schools to discourage idling of vehicles. Is that right?
So again, that's an idea that we think could be a better use of those funds to do. We're not doing that yet. We have not been given the go-ahead to do it, but we think it could be successful in a better use of air quality funds that we receive through Eastgate.
I think that's a very good idea because you have a lot of parents lined up in their cars at school dismissal time to pick up their children, and they're just idling their vehicles in long lines. It's particularly notable at St. Christine School. And I see it at many other schools at dismissal time. And really, there's no excuse for that idling unless it's extremely cold or extremely hot. They can just turn the ignition off and roll down the windows most of the time, unless it's a torrential rain, but so I think, signs at the schools to discourage idling. Please do not idle, whatever the signs you're going to put there. I think that's a very good idea. I don't know. I don't think it's practical around here for city and village councils to legislate anti-idling laws. I think those would go over like a lead balloon here. They would be the most unpopular things any city or village council would ever do around here. But I can tell you in New York City, for many, many decades, they have had an anti-idling law, particularly applying to commercial vehicles. And frankly, the city of New York does not give a damn about how uncomfortable, how hot, how cold people might be in a bus. That ignition will be turned off. Otherwise, the bus driver and the company is getting a big, big fine. All right. And they're not to idle commercial vehicles for more than, I think it's 3 minutes in New York City. But of course, they have a major air pollution problem, a lot more population density than we do. In totally different circumstances, but I think the anti-idling effort is good.
Yeah, appreciate those comments. Saw a lot of head nods to your original comment there that you think it's a great idea. I just want to emphasize, not my idea. Make sure credit goes to Tricia. She's maybe been here before. Again, I'm sure you guys will hear more about that in the future.
Zuby, on your 602 number,
Yes.
transportation improvements. So if we had a concern or I have an interest in a specific roadway, whether we're responsible for it or another entity, township versus county, can I still contact you for that to start that process?
Yeah, absolutely.
Review it or look at it?
Yeah, certainly. There's a whole few pages of charts as far as responsibilities go for roadway resurfacing, maintenance, striping, guardrails, all these different bridges, just all these different categories in different classifications of roadway, whether it's township responsibility, city, village, state. Yeah, that's certainly a good starting point. And then if there's something you have in mind as far as an improvement goes, I'll at least be able to get you in the right direction on, hey, here's what funding round's coming up next. Here's the program you go to, or no, it's not you, it's so-and-so that's responsible instead. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Other thing I want to share with you guys is a quick reminder of a process that we have at Eastgate that was adopted back in 2018. The reason I want to give this reminder and refresher is because this is the first time we've used this for any of my programs, for any of the project changes. So reverting back to 2018, there was this new resolution that was passed referring to amendments through administrative modifications. All except for, again, this first one since 2018, all of the resolutions that are amending the TIP document that have come to you guys for comment and then ultimately to General Policy Board for approval have gone through that system of here's this recommendation for change, whether it's a small dollar amount change, a year that's being shifted, a project going forward, gone through that system, gone through that process, been approved. That always can't be the case. There are certain times and instances where a change occurs and needs to occur at the 11th hour. And when we can't get it through this system, truly needs to be in a rush, this resolution 018-2018 gives us that ability through our executive director's signature, following some guidelines, small dollar amounts, not any limit changes on a project, no new project additions, no project changes, really aside from small dollar amounts. Bring that up because one of the resolutions in your packet, 004, and I apologize, the one that's in there was when we thought we could go through that normal process. So you'll see two little changes to what is in your packet versus what I have on the screen. One, the heading at the top doesn't mention through administrative modification. Mine on the screen now does. The second is you're going to see two boxes at the bottom for a signature. That's through our standard mid process, get the approval, get the two signatures on there, then submit it to ODOT. This needed to occur right away. So this March 6th signature that occurred is approving this resolution for this increase of $74,000 through our TAP program, which is our Transportation Alternatives Program, for the Village of Lowville for an increase on their Established Trail Phase 1 project that was selling this fiscal year in 2024. So you see, yeah, that this was in 24, this was last minute. Let's make this increase. It fits within the budget. It fits within the program. We got to make it happen. We got to do it now. Here you go. Real quick. Again, first time since 2018 this occurred. Do not anticipate it happening again or frequently whatsoever. It's truly the last thing that we want to go through because we don't want to make these changes and these adjustments on our own without these approvals, but understanding and with that original approval, sometimes it unfortunately has to occur. Yes.
Steve, I was going to ask you, when are you actually going to repave that staff trail in North Iowa section?
So this first phase is the westernmost section is where their first phase starts, heads east. Don't recall exactly what the limits are. It's 2,300 feet, again, starting at the very western portion of the trail.
Struthers.
The Struthers portion isn't, so this is the Lowville portion. So I guess as soon as you hit the Lowville limits, that, what's the road, 289, is where this is beginning. This may have started already, if not over the next couple months.
Well, it's definitely needed because the section of that stabbing trail is in horrible shape. And I refuse to ride my bicycle on it. I use Route 289. I ride the road instead. The Pennsylvania section instead is in much better shape, probably because it was paved more recently.
In this project, even just this first phase was quite a process. The village attempted to apply multiple times, could not get through ownership of the trail at the time, which going back to eligibilities, couldn't be privately owned. So back 5-6 years trying to, this would have been done already if that transfer to publicly owned would have occurred sooner. But
Yeah.
just to show that this unfortunately was such a process because of a few different reasons.
And the Stabbage brothers from Kalex Corporation donated that trail 40 years ago. Actually, the trail opened in 1983. And so I can see why there could be an issue of land ownership that would complicate this.
Okay, thank you guys for the time. Shift it over to Joey. I can now if you want me to.
Want to go 5? We'll go off
Just
the
let it-
agenda. Go off the order.
Just the paper. Yeah, so you have another resolution in your packet, resolution 005-2024.
On Adobe.
Oh, yes, yeah. Okay, You guys have it in your packet up on the screen for anybody joining virtually, if you'd like to see. So I mentioned the standard way that we do things. Here's the perfect example of what you guys have always seen, the standard way that we do things. This is identifying some funding increases and some, 2 new projects that went through our CMAQ, our Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, beginning last summer. The CMAQ one specifically, that's a statewide run program. That's quite a process. We don't do too much with it. We kind of help score based on criteria from the state. The statewide committee comes together, approves projects. Then ultimately, the executive directors of all the MPOs across the state approve those. That occurred in January. Here we are today with these finalized and recommended funding. Those are, let's see, PID 99804, Western Reserve Greenway Trail Phase 4. That project is recommended to receive an increase. Right below it, fixed route transit bus replacement. That's a new project. I mentioned a few of the ways that we reduce emissions. One of the unique ways we do it through our partnership with WRTA, they replace old diesel engine buses with new battery powered 35-foot buses. Big reduction there that we see. The other CMAQ one, back to the first page, the 2 there. One other new one, the PID that's TBD, Trumbull signalization upgrades. Trumbull County Engineer is doing some signal coordination in various locations. What this does is has signals talking amongst each other, gets you through that route faster, which again, back to my original thing, reduces the emissions from your cars. Top one, Main Street, State Route 46, City of Niles. This is a project that was funded. This was an increase in the amount of $775,000 to get them to 100% funding. Through our CMAQ program, we offer 100% funding, which ends up being $0 on the local toward signal coordination projects and roundabouts. Those are the 2 that show the biggest reduction in emissions. So that's what occurred here. They initially asked for 80% and we had more funds available, came back to cover that other 20.
Where were the 2 biggest reductions in emissions, the locations?
Not the locations, but the project types, being coordinated signals and being roundabouts.
And the route what?
Roundabouts.
Oh, okay.
Yep. The couple other projects that are on here, the top of the second page, Cortland has their East Main Street resurfacing. We've seen over the past year or 2 a lot of projects that were underestimated because construction costs went through the roof over the last few years due to various issues. This is one of them. So one through our Surface Transportation Block Grant Program that we're able to fund an increase and recommend an increase of $349,000. 2 others being through our Transportation Alternatives Program. Joey's going to show you some numbers in a minute here. We have I don't want to call it a staggering amount of funds available, much bigger though than typical for us for that program. We didn't receive nearly as much as we wanted to. So there's a budget available. Boardman and Walnut Street, some streetscape elements there, and then Sheridan Road in Poland, both seeking increases for the work done on those 2 projects. Again, happily and easily able to recommend funding through our transportation improvement or transportation alternatives program because we have such an extensive budget. Last thing we want to do is lose funds. So it may come to a surprise to see such a big number, if anybody's well versed in our transportation alternatives program for that Boardman Walnut Street project. Typically projects are more in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 range. So again, that may look like a kind of outlier number. There's somewhat the justification as to why. So long-winded explanation as to what resolution 005 is, but looking forward to your guys' comments and hopefully recommendation for approval there.
Quick question, Steve, about the phase 4 on that Western First Greenway Bike Trail is sensitive to pay for a mile or
Yes, Correct. And I did get word this morning from Zach Savet, the Trumbull Metro Parks, whatever his position, yes, didn't want to guess at a title. He did mention that he's working through a big holdup and a big process in any project is right-of-way acquisition. Being able to do your project on somebody else's parcel. He is moving forward, getting good reception, getting good feedback and dialogue communication amongst the few parcel owners. So no real concern to that infinitely delay.
It's affectionately known as the missing link.
It is one of the two missing links to connect Lake Erie to the Ohio River.
Our membership does have to vote on that. Justin will put out an email with a poll on it. We'll go to electronic.
All right, thank you guys as always. I'm always happy to be here.
All right, as Steve said multiple times, I'm just going to go over a few things, a few programs for funding that we've recently selected applications for. First, though, I'm going to go over our transportation improvement plan update. We're required to just give an update on projects that have sold in fiscal year 2024. So that's the current fiscal year we're in right now. That is July of last year through June. For this fiscal year, we had 33 projects that totaled just under 24 million. 12 of the projects were in Mahoning and 21 were in Trumbull County. For the projects that are after the present day, as it goes up to June of this year, we just had to give our best guess as to which ones would sell. And that's the number we came up with, so just under 24. The first transportation funding program to go over was one I've mentioned and given a presentation on the applications. This is the one that we had to do the selections for. As it says up here, we received $25.5 million in requests, but we only had about 11.2 million in funding. So we did have to cut back on some program or some applications. One thing to keep in mind, we did do this in an equitable manner. We gave at least one project to each applicant. So every applicant had at least one project that they submitted, select. The list, which it goes more in depth on the handouts as to the project details and pricing. This is the list. I mean, I would look at your handout. It's obviously better than this. These are the programs or the projects that a lot of you might remember. I brought it up before. For our transportation alternatives program, this is the program that Steve mentioned that we didn't get nearly as much applications as we had hoped for. We had about 3.55 million in funding available and we received about 2.26 in requests. So we were able to fund all of these applications. Again, more information on the handouts, and that's about it for our funding programs. Any questions?
You guys will see, we'll have a resolution next month to, I guess this is second step. Like Joey mentioned, he presented all these applications, all these projects, whether that was last month or 2 months ago. This is now what we kind of shrunk down onto this recommended list. So if you see something, provide comment on there, then we'll have our resolution next month to, again, have an opportunity to provide comment. Yeah.
How much about the Mahoning Avenue project? The Marshall Street, South Springs Road, North Bella Vista Avenue.
City of Youngstown project.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought it was Mahoning Avenue. Okay.
Street, Glenwood, Edwards.
Actually,
With a
okay, no, I thought I saw Mahoning Avenue. And it's not there, so that was my error, sorry.
Probably got confused with all the avenues in Mahoney County.
There's a lot of information.
That's why I originally started coming to the meetings, was the Hunting Avenue project in Youngstown.
All right, we thank our guest speakers for today, Kathy, Joey, Steve. Good morning, welcome to stay with us. The rest of the meeting, we're trying to scoot right through the rest of our agenda. Next month, we have another regular scheduled meeting, and the month right after that, we have the general policy board. And if anybody has any ideas or comments they want to forward to the general policy board, just for those go. Justin, you want to talk about a quick recap of this afternoon's TAC meeting?
Yeah, this is going to be the shortest one that I give you, I think, because 5 of these you've already heard. The only one you haven't heard is that second bullet point on the agenda, the fiscal year 2025 Clean Ohio discussion. This is a program run by Stephanie Dyer of our office, our environmental programs manager. The Clean Ohio Conservation Program is funding that we have available to administer mainly for the purpose of acquiring property for the purpose of conservation, but also to go back to those properties and do things like stream restoration or other types of kind of protective projects for the natural environment in those spaces. So with this current round, there's $2.2 million available. Full applications are due September 13th, so there's a pretty long on-ramp to being able to put a project together. So in your communities, if you know of something or you have some ideas, talk to your, whether that's city council, township trustees, your responsible authorities to help give them these ideas, let them know that this funding's available. A lot of times we don't receive the amount of requests that we have in funding available. So we get to roll that funding over into the next round. Typically, we're somewhere around 1.5 million. But this year we had some left over from the previous round, so it did carry over. So we've got a ton of money available for these types of projects. So if you've got something, go back to your communities, let them know that this exists, and to reach out to either myself or Stephanie, and we'd be happy to talk to help develop project ideas and get some applications together. Coming up on our website, probably in the next week or two, is going to be the application manual and the scoring methodology that will be used. So as you're putting your project ideas together, those are very useful documents in how to construct your project idea and write your narrative and think through all of the steps necessary. So I'll make sure if those are available at the time that I put the meeting summary together, that those will be. Questions on that? So TAC, because you've heard everything else.
All right, thank you. At our February meeting, we went over revisions to our bylaws. Justin, you want to give a quick explanation of what you have here as far as the proposal?
So this is in your packet. I threw it on the screen for anyone that's on remotely. So as we discussed at the last CAB meeting, we wanted to take a look at revising our bylaws. There was a longer document that was shared, and we talked through at the last meeting kind of section by section changes that you wanted to see it. One of the things that we discussed was let's simplify the official bylaws that will make it into Eastgate's overall agency bylaws. And then let's create a second kind of procedures document that talks about how you govern yourselves, the practices and how you do business. So all this is just that very first step. This is the official one. Once we get this language figured out and something that is to all of your liking, we could then take this to the General Policy Board for their review and final approval to adopt it officially in Eastgate's agency bylaws. So this was my first go at providing you a draft proposal. On that page, you'll see the existing statement that exists under the existing bylaws section. That's the language that Eastgate's official bylaw, overall bylaws, has in it currently. The section below that is the proposed revision that gets to a lot of the comments that came out regarding this specific piece of what we had talked about. So feel free to take some time to think through that. If you've got any thoughts, any comments, any tweaks or changes that you think would be helpful to make, happy to put those into text. Make sure that this best reflects how you feel you should be represented in that document. And just a reminder, this isn't covering, membership rules and how we vote and when we hold meetings. That'll come in that second larger document. All of those things will be fleshed out in detail there. This is more
For just
establishing this group and setting the purpose and intent of it.
any comments?
Good. Obviously, we've got time. We could, revisit this next month as well. If you've got any comments, if you want to kind of sit on it and chew it and review this a little bit more. What I'll also be bringing to you next month is a draft of some of that bigger document as well. So we could start chipping away at that. That one we can take our time with because that's just kind of how we govern ourselves. My ultimate end goal, and I don't want it to last this long, but as long as we got it by the end of the year, we're good. But I'd like to get that wrapped up sooner rather than later. So I'll keep working to keep that process moving. But this is the bigger one since it would have to go through our general policy board. So wanted to make sure we got that on as early as we could.
All right, that pretty much does it with our agenda. Any comments, any questions?
You have a concert in April.
Yeah, as always, if you want to share that information with me, I'll make sure it's in the.
But it's April 14th. St. Joseph Church on Moon Road in Austin on the 14th of April at 4 p.m. It's Mass for Peace.
What's the name of that choral group?
Stambaugh Chorus. And we'll be joined by two other choruses, the Dana Chorale and Teal College is also joining us. So it should be massive. And we have what's called the Stambaugh Festival Orchestra. So. 4 o'clock. Sunday, the 14th of April.
The city of Youngstown is going to build an all-inclusive park for people with disabilities, mainly children, but it would be all ages. And so that's going to go forward. There's a proposed location. There already is one in Canfield. I don't know if there's any in Ashtabula County or Trumbull County, but that's something some of us are working closely on. And I was particularly interested because the current location that is proposed is at Midlothian in Lemoyne. Ipefield, right. But it might not end up there, but we're just concerned about the pollution from I-680. And then when you were saying about the idling vehicles, I mean, not just Midlothian through traffic, there's a stoplight there. So there's right there. So there's even more pollution, which can be harmful for people who are disabled, especially, children, growing children. That's kind of redundant, but they're growing. And people with asthma. Youngstown, Ohio has a high asthma rate. That's just something that struck me as very interesting.
Maybe I didn't hear it. What is the intersection, Midlothian and?
At Lemoyne.
Okay, we'll take a look at that because, we have all of our data that could just see delay that's there, could see, Grant's probably been here talking about streetlight data. We can pick up how traffic patterns, travel patterns occur, where delays occurring. So I'll be interested. We'll look into this location specifically, see if there's some drastic delay there. Then it can ultimately become, into the future. Sadly, things work slow through federal dollars, but maybe some improvements through different programs to try to reduce that
Yeah.
congestion there.
Yeah, because right now the project's controversial between the administration and the Seventh Ward citizens. Not all the Seventh Ward citizens, but we feel that that's not the best location to put this park. Part of it's the sound pollution and the particle pollution, tire, fumes, that kind of thing.
And the more evidence that we have, the better our argument can stand to the Youngstown Foundations, because they're going to be heading the project. And right now, it's a battle.
Yeah, it's a battle, but we want the
Yes,
we want the project. We just don't think Ike Field is the best location.
There's other,
Do you have an alternate location that you recommend?
yes, several.
Yeah, we have several other parks, at least 4 or 5 other, at least 3 or 4 other parks like Pemberton, Lynn Park, Buckeye Field, and Homestead, Jackson School Park. Yeah,
Right.
so secluded.
Yeah, the places that we just mentioned are secluded, very shady, and
The vehicle traffic is low,
right.
so.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Yeah.
We'll get some information for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will, sure. Thank you, everybody.
What's Tricia's last name?
Yeah. Lean back, yeah. Her name, thanks, right?
She's involved. Right there.
Yes.